You guys, we are back for spin class and we're going to give it one of those, get a little bit clearer. Whew. What a week. What a week. We're going to talk about time today and how we spend our time. And I'm going to spend this time not exercising. I can tell you that. So, the financial fitness idea is great. I don't know if we're going to keep it going. If you like it and you miss all of the weights and all the things while we talk, you can let me know. However, for this moment, I am tuning in from my living room. It's been wild, and I want to talk to you today about how do you know how you're managing and budgeting and spending time. So this is all part of it. Spend class is all about how you spend these four major areas: time, energy, attention, and money. So when we come to this class, we're really learning what we do with the resources we have. Y'all know I'm an economist, right? So what we do with these resources that we have, got that. Maybe we'll just keep that low. Uh, is how it's all the same. So if you take time, it's a finite amount. Now, we're not talking about the ethereal. We're not talking about in the spiritual realm where time is not real and it's an illusion. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Thanks, Crystal, for that. But here we're talking about the practicality of time in this dimension where time is real, where time is affecting us, where we have a finite amount of it. How do we manage and budget that time? And I just want to share with you a little bit about what's going on with me, and hopefully that will help you. Recently, you guys know that last week I jumped on, I did the call literally from the car because the time needed to change. And I've moved it now to 4 o'clock on Wednesday. That's when we're meeting here live, at least. And we're going to see. We're going to see if that works. In fact, this week, what I have my students working on is a calendar, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So what happened is, if you didn't catch the short video last week, what happened is I took a job, like a real job. Like I show up at work every day. It's so strange. But I'm having a blast. So don't feel sorry for me because I am having so much fun. I never saw this coming. And I'm working for a high school, a private high school, and I'm just teaching test analysis. So my job is I have no content. I have just this mission of teaching juniors in high school how to get ready for the SAT, the ACT, and prepare for these entrance exams for college. How did we get here? Well, that's another story of magic and wonder because life is wonderful. In the essence of taking on this new position, I had a lot of anxiety because of time, because you guys know I'm all about using my resources effectively. And it didn't feel in the moment of, am I going to say yes to this? It felt true. Like, that wisdom, that guidance that comes from somewhere else, and we just know and we trust it. That was a strong yes for me. Like, yes, you're doing this with this school. And I was like, what do you mean I'm doing this with this school? I don't want to go to work every day. What do you mean I have to get dressed 5 days a week? What do you mean I have to actually commute with traffic? Like, I don't do that. And yet, everything in me was a yes to this opportunity. And I'll tell you, like, I get way more money doing other things than the time that they pay me for this, except lately, I haven't really been so motivated for some of those things. Like, I don't really want to do marketing. And I'm at that point in my business where all my systems are built, everything's ready, and all it requires of me is marketing. That's not what I want to do with my time. But you know what I could do is I could take funds that come from another source and I can put them into the things where I don't want to spend my time. So the first element of time is understand that time being limited to 24 hours is a story for, in the words of Gen Z people, if you're listening, the NPCs, the people who don't quite get it, the people who aren't thinking outside the box. And so instead, you can take this thing called cash money and you can buy someone else's time. So I've made a choice, number one, that I can, by doing this gig with the school, I can take those funds and I can allot those funds to a stronger marketing plan and pay someone else to do the parts that I'm just, let's face it, clearly not doing. It's effective. It needs to be done. And yet I don't find myself doing it. I'd rather go build another website, build another course, work with another client, do anything but sit down and do all that marketing stuff like ads. I tried to be that person. It's just not who I am. And so I found myself in this opportunity, and it was crazy because it was quick. I had no time to process it. It happened on a Thursday. It was yes or no. On Monday, I needed to start. And this is a 5 days, most weeks gig, you guys, not for very long. It's like an hour and 20 minutes each day for me to fulfill this task. But I'm teaching people how to take tests. Like, what? I mean, there's a financial management class. Don't you want me for that? But they had that covered. They just didn't have anyone for this particular class. Well, in the yes, because my spirit said yes, my everything else panicked. What do you mean? That's 30 minutes each way driving that I'm not being effective. That's showing up at an institution every single day. I haven't had to do that since I retired from being a professor, and now we're doing it for high school. Like, isn't that different? But it's a private high school, which is very different than public high school. And I can't say where I would be in the decision if it was public versus private. But I said yes. And so my time has changed. My allotment of time has changed. And in the meantime, I am teaching juniors about taking tests. Well, guess what we are talking about this much? The test. Guess what we're talking about this much? Their anxiety, their feelings, their emotions, the stuff that gets in the way of taking the test. And so this week, our assignment was literally for them to make a calendar and to take all the big things from their lives and put them on the calendar. Now, I'm going to give you a story slash parable for those of you who haven't heard it. And I presume that most of you have heard this before, but there is this story that if you take a jar and you have a ton of rocks to put in it, how do you have big rocks, you have little rocks, you have some gravels, and you have some sand. How do you get those in? What do you put in first? Do you put the sand in? Well, no, then you're going to fill it up and there's no room for the big rocks. But if you first put your big rocks in, and you know what? This would be a great story for the juniors. Thank you, YouTube family, because you just gave me my next lesson for tomorrow. So I'll physically get a jar and we'll do this. And so you put the big rocks in. And once you put the big rocks in, those smaller rocks can go in and they can fill in the gaps and spaces around the big rocks. And then you put in the gravel, the little teeny tiny rocks that can again fill in the spaces. And then, wow, there's still room for the sand. And by focusing on the things that matter most, the things that take up the most space most, you're able to find this Tetris map where your life can fit all the things. But without a little planning, without a little intention, it's really hard to fit it in. If you just grab the sand and think, okay, I'll dump the sand in, now you've got your jar full halfway with just sand. You put the gravel in next, it's full again. Where can the big rocks go? They're going to stick out. So that because to use the space effectively, we must put in the big rocks first. That's our best analogy for time. When we know we have a lot of things to do. Today, I had a class. I had another class online. I teach Saudi Arabian women. And so they were back to back. How do I manage that time? I finished in a physical class at 10:56. I started at 11 a.m. with the Saudi class. How do you navigate that? Well, first of all, I took my wrap with me because yes, I do cover all of this when I teach the Saudi women. Number one, for respect, and number two, it's required so that they will keep inviting me back. And we want to be respectful, right? That's one of our management pieces of being smart and using our resources is to manage the resources of the people in our lives as well. We don't talk about that here as much. We're talking about time, energy, attention, and money. But yes, even managing our relationships with people and others. So as we step in to time management and we're doing a calendar, it's put in the things, put in your classes, put in your practices if you're in sports, put in time to study. And guess what? I had them put in time to scroll TikTok. Yes. Why not? No, if you're going to do it anyway, give yourself an allotted time. That's the time that you do it. And here's the cool thing. When you do it that way, let's say you created a 2-hour block for study time. And some of you listening this might be your workplace, this might be your study time. It depends on where your come from is from this audience. But if you are looking to fit all this in, you do all those big things that matter first: your study time, your work time, your class time, your practice time, your gym time. Anyone put the gym on the calendar? If you're not, you're probably not doing the gym unless you've already had that rhythm of doing that. But when you're trying to add the gym back in, put it on your calendar, make it a part of your day so you see it, so it reminds you, so that other things don't take up its space. So the first thing is to really get clear what time means to you, and buy other people's time. Don't accept that that time is finite. You can use your money and buy other people's time. So get more of time when you can and where it makes sense. Secondly, is put your big rocks in first. Find a method, whether it's a calendar, an Excel sheet. I know, super antiquated, but I totally use an Excel sheet, and I block out so that I can see colorfully what my week looks like without the convolution of the calendar itself. I make a 1 week calendar inside of Excel, and I just block out the generals. And this isn't specific because each week maybe I have a different work, different task, a different thing to do, but I know where I'll be at these specific times and what's required of me. Now, I don't always have to do it that way. When I'm working for just myself, then pretty much either it's marketing time or client time delivery, and we're figuring out the rest and speaking. But if I want to be a speaker, which I do speak in the world, then I've got to find a way to fit it in. How am I going to navigate this new school with all the requirements of that while I'm going to my calendar and speaking? And so I have an event coming up in this month, in about 2 weeks, that I'll be speaking for a group of women. And going to speak for that group of women, I have to be prepared. So in my calendar is time to get prepared and do that work. They are also a consulting client, so I'm preparing the offer for them from the event, the one that they'll make. That means that I got to go through their course and know what the juicy parts of their course are. So guess what's in my calendar? The space and time to just study, to just read and go through their course and pretend I'm a student in it, or not pretend, I'm being a student in their course, and taking the activities so that I have things to talk about when I'm sharing my experience with that course and helping them to seed their offer. So all of this is becoming a big part of how I'm utilizing my time, what it means for me, and how I get everything in. Like, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm doing so many things right now, but it all fits because I put those big rocks first. And then I want to leave you with this final idea for Spend Class today. So we're buying more time. That's the first step. Like, really, I'm not kidding. Buy more time. Buy other people's time to get the things you need done. Number 2, put your big rocks first. And number 3, when you are managing and budgeting time, be flexible. So if you put the big rocks first, you put it on your calendar, and every Wednesday used to be my administrative day. That's the day I'm going to do all the admin things. Guess what? By the time I finish all the tasks I have on Wednesday, not going to do admin. I'm going to be real with you. It's not going to happen today. I already have 4 phone calls lined up that are waiting for me, that I had to pause one to do this because I kept my time, because I agreed to shift this to 4 o'clock on Wednesday for this week. I'm still figuring out where it's going to land. Luckily, because the show is new, I have a little flexibility with myself, right? To say, okay, with this new schedule that's going to go through December, where really can Spend Class fit? Because it is virtual, it's live, and because many of you are just still coming and subscribing and following along later versus watching live, we haven't really established that. Now, what happens if it was at noon and I had a lot of people and I couldn't change the time? Then I would have had to look back at the Saudi Arabian school and say, it doesn't work for me. I can't do that class. So that would be a big rock that replaced another big rock. So it all depends. And so then I have to think about that. In the long term, is it going to work for me to have this class at this time? Because once you guys start coming, I need to be consistent. So that's the third thing, is be consistent but flexible. So buy other people's time, put the big rocks in first, be consistent but flexible. And so with this class, this noon class, I'm working on where it may fit. Once I find its new spot, it'll become that big rock again. Okay, got to fit it in this week. It's kind of more like one of the small rocks at this point because not enough of you have started to attend live. But listen, by the time you watch this video, it might be already established, in which case, awesome. Who doesn't love established work and finding me after I've done quite a bit? But I promise you, if you follow these general rules, what's going to start to happen is you realize that time is not against you. Time is not the enemy. Time is not some clock that you have to chase and catch up, but it starts to work with you and even expand at times, especially if you have your week mapped out and you kind of get into a flow and you're letting that flow happen. Here's my favorite part. And this is not part of the 1, 2, 3s. This is just my favorite part of time blocking, is sometimes because you've planned your time so well, and then you get ahead, you become more efficient, you finish an assignment early, something doesn't take you that long. You may have had a 3-hour time block for something that either takes you an hour or you finished it somehow in the middle of another time block where you finished something else early and you just went ahead in that momentum and kept going. So then suddenly here you are feeling like you had a full day of things to do. You get up, energized, ready to do them, get through part way, and then realize, oh, I did what's on my calendar for the next 3 hours. And when you gain that back, it's like literally someone just handed you time. Wouldn't you want just somebody to hand you money for no reason? That's what it feels like in the form of time when you have those time blocks, but yet you somehow finished the work ahead of that time block. It's like free time given to you. It's amazing. It's a wonderful feeling. So I really, truly recommend that you follow these principles. And for the time management piece, put those big rocks in first. Use a calendar, put in the things that really matter. Schedule in your study time, schedule in everything that you need to achieve. If you've got administrative tasks, schedule them in, because sometimes you have this wonderful benefit of getting that time back for yourself, in which case you can work ahead and be ahead of yourself as you finish out the week and take Friday off, woo, or half a Friday off, or whatever that looks like for you. Or you can simply take that beautiful Wednesday afternoon when you finished everything ahead. That's not my day today, but when you finished everything ahead, and you can just enjoy that. You can go to the park and take a walk, go swimming, go for a walk, go for a run, go for a bike ride, call up a friend that you've been meaning to talk to and really wanted to. If you're in business, like pick up the phone and call a few people that you normally wouldn't and just see what becomes of it, because you've created spaciousness. And through spaciousness, you get to win the game of time. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in for Spend Class. We're going to keep this going. We are going to keep them live. I'm going to keep going and doing them live, and you'll see them when you see them. And I promise you, we will get to a rhythm in the timing as well. As of now, this time kind of worked for today, so we're going to try it again next week and see what happens. I'll see you all in my classroom called Spend Class. And if you want to reach me outside of here, you can subscribe. Oh, yes, please subscribe, like, share, do all the wonderful things so that we can keep this message going. And I'll get tighter and tighter and even better at sharing this in this short amount of time, which is our goal every time, is to spend less time than we thought. And right now I got 6 minutes left to beat that schedule. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this channel. And you can reach me on Instagram at Dr. Crystal Gifford, Dr. Crystal Gifford, just like the YouTube channel. And send me a private message. If you want some support, you can go to SpendClass and you can register to get those updates. Pretty soon they'll be updated for 4 o'clock on Wednesday in Eastern time. All right. Thank you guys. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.